Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about being fat adapted versus being sugar adapted. So we live in a very high carb, high processed world. We have so many fatty foods, boxed foods, fast food restaurants. So a lot of us are running on carbs. And what you may not know is that our bodies have metabolic flexibility so that we are able to run on either carbs or fat for our energy source. Your body is able to switch between using carbs for fuel or using fat for fuel. It can go back and forth between the two anytime. So what is fat adaptation? So fat adaptation is the process that your body goes through from using primarily glucose for energy to using primarily fat for energy. So energy from carbs is burned through really quickly. So that's why you always get that instant gratification whenever you have pasta or whenever you have that cookie. But the thing about burning carbs for energy is that it doesn't last very long. Your body always ends up wanting more. So what happens is your blood sugar constantly is going up and down and up and down and up and down all throughout the day. So what happens is your body is working overtime to fight this flood of glucose by sending in more insulin. And insulin is the hormone that helps sugar to get out of your bloodstream and into your cells, which is why your insulin levels raise. Whenever you have too much floating around, your brain signals get thrown off that are able to tell you when you're full. Hence why we overeat and why sometimes we always feel hungry. Our body craves more carbs and just creates this downward spiral into unwanted weight gain. And particularly where the weight tends to build up is around the midsection, around your love handles, and around the thighs. And that is why, especially as women, we have such a hard time losing weight in those areas, is because we constantly have that battle. So how do you know if you're a sugar burner? If you are a sugar burner, you are someone who constantly feels hangry. So if you're not getting fed, you are angry. You're hungry all the time. You're constantly craving something. You are always wanting to snack. You snack in between your meals. You can never make it to the next meal. You always end up having to eat something else. And you never fully feel full. So sometimes you can eat a full meal, you still want some sweets or some type of dessert afterwards, and you never feel fully satisfied. Sugar is like a real addiction, and a lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of people are addicted to sugar. And from studies that I've read, people say that sugar addiction can be stronger than addiction to drugs. It is that strong. Our bodies continually tell us that we need more and more and more sugar, which is why people have such a hard time giving it up. So as I mentioned, your body has metabolic flexibility, so it's able to either use the carbs for fuel or it's able to use fat for its fuel source. It's able to switch between the two. So how do you get your body to be fat adapted and to start using your body's fat for fuel? Well, you need to get ketones. And you either need to do that by strictly following a ketogenic diet for weeks up to months and consistently making sure that you are staying in ketosis within that time, or you can drink an exogenous ketone, which is what I do. So in order for your body to burn fat, it has to burn through all of the carbs and glycogen in the body. And then, and only then, after it does all that, it is able to tap into your fat storage. So whenever you're able to burn fat for fuel, that is when your body gets that metabolism and energy boost. That's when you start to feel a whole lot better, is because your body is not depending on those carbs and sugars any longer. And also when you're burning fat for fuel, you are finally able to get rid of that stubborn fat. In the beginning, depending on the person, you may notice that once we deplete all the carbs, you might notice that you are craving more carbs because you went from having a lifestyle of having carbs all day long to having nothing. So your body goes, what the heck, where are the carbs at? But the good thing is that that does subside, and for most people, they are able to skip that step. Once your body is fat adapted, those carb cravings will go away and you'll be able to get that fullness feeling faster, and you'll be able to stay that way longer, which is why you notice that people who are fat adapted are not snacking several times throughout the day. So for me, a lot of people are weirded out by the fact that I don't consistently eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day because that's what time of the day it is. They get super creeped out that I don't just eat when the normal time to eat is. But for me, I listen to my body. So when I feel hungry, I will eat. I'm not going to eat just because society tells me it's time to eat. And when I start to feel full, I stop eating. I don't just continue eating because it's really good. I will save it for another time. When you are fat adapted, you typically can go 4 to 6 hours without feeling hungry. For me, I feel like I typically can go a lot longer than that. It just depends on the day. Being fat adapted and having ketones is a huge benefit to prevent your body from getting those cravings. And why? The reason is because you're able to stabilize your blood sugar levels. So instead of having your blood sugar drop and spike and drop and spike and drop and spike and drop and spike all throughout the day, it is able to be stable. So when your blood sugars are stable, you notice that you're not getting those hungers and you're not getting those crashes. So how do you know you're fat adapted? If you're fat adapted, you notice that you have a little bit of loss of appetite. You notice that you're only getting hungry at certain times of the day. You notice that you're not getting hungry just because it's time to eat. You notice that you're not craving. You notice that you're not constantly snacking. People who are fat adapted don't eat just because it's a certain time of the day, or because they're bored, or they're sad, or because they feel emotional. Being fat adapted allows your body to prevent snacking in those times because, again, your blood sugar is stable. Some people may be thinking, okay, well, how can I test this for myself though, aside from just going off of how I feel? And for me personally, I think going off of how you feel and listening to your body is the most important thing. I do that all the time, just paying attention to myself. But if you really wanted to, when you first start out, you can use urine strips. And I say only when you first start out, because once your body starts readily using the ketones for your energy source, you're not going to be excreting them out as much as you would in the beginning when your body is kind of going through a dual process. So if your body is not excreting them out, you're not going to be noticing them in your urine test. The most accurate way to be able to tell is through a blood test. Some people go through it, but a lot of people don't because it is very expensive. But that's why I say just go off of how you feel, and that's how you will know. Once you're fat adapted, the hunger hormone ghrelin stops being released. So some people have a pattern. So as soon as they wake up in the morning, they eat. When you stop doing that because you're fat adapted, if you're not hungry, after a couple of days, your body's going to realize, oh, okay, this person's not actually hungry at this time. I'm going to stop releasing this hormone until later in the day. There are so many health benefits to being fat adapted and to using ketones and using them as your fuel source. There's so much research that shows that sugar is like poison to our bodies, and like I said, the addiction is really real. So if you've never had the chance to experience what that's like, I would highly recommend trying it, just so that way you can see for yourself and feel for yourself how different it truly feels. So that's a quick overview of the difference between being sugar adapted versus being fat adapted. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave your comments below. If you would like me to make a more in-depth video about this, please let me know. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you are new, please make sure you hit that subscribe button below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!